I have a lot to say about Adrianna. She's my cousin. She's my cousin twice. My mom is her dad's sister. Her mom is my dad's sister, and my mom is cousins with her dad. Did I say it right? Yes. I don't even know. It's very confusing. Well, we are cousins twice. So, and Adrianna is here tonight, and I've heard her many times. She's extremely smart, and I'm sure she's going to share a lot about forgiveness, bringing us into a lot of different topics within it. Adrianna, please come up. We can't wait to hear Adrianna. Adrianna used to speak at, I don't know if you know the Marisa Centro over there down the, she used to, now she belongs here. Now she's here with us.
Thank you. Oh, this one or this one? This one, right?
That one. You're right.
Let me just.
Don't use two, please.
I know. No, it's not going to work out.
No, you don't need it.
Well, thank you, Roberta, for the lovely introduction. I'm new here. We're more like sisters, because cousins twice, right? We do. I think like when we incarnated in this world, God said, no, if two of you in the same house, no, it's not going to happen. So like, I like guys be cousin twice. That's good enough. Right, Roberta? Yeah. But anyway, for those who knows me, I'm new to this. This is something that I love, is my passion. I love talking. Sometimes I talk too fast. And it's my passion to talk about, a lot of the times, yes. And it's my passion to talk about topics related to the gospel, topics related to spirituality, because all of this is new for me. It's fairly new. I've been in this path for about like 7 years, maybe. I don't know, maybe 2017, 2018, I became a student of Spiritism. So a lot of these, when I came across, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, what's going on? So I read a lot of books. You know, I read the gospel, the gospel for the Spiritism gospel for like twice, because as I was doing speeches, I'm like, I have to read it and understand in order for me to say something, because all my knowledge coming from previous religions that I passed through, Catholic, Protestant, and now Spiritism. So you have to understand. So because when information comes to your mind, it kind of like explodes, and I'm like, what is going on? So that's how I feel. Especially like coming here is even worse, because I'm like, what is going on? Because it's a lot of, but in a good way, you know, because knowledge is power. Everything that you acquire, to open your mind to, when you're willing to understand, and when you're willing to walk the path, I think that's the key. Like with an open mind, no judgment, just a clear mind, a purpose to understand. I think that's what we're all here for, right? So I am going to talk about forgiveness, right? To forgive. And what I like to do is, on the next slide, I don't know, here. I think that's how you change it, right? Oh, is there a little click here? Okay. Okay. Okay, there you go. I like to give like a definition of the word, so we, just to understand. So on the verbs, it means give, giving, given. So it's like, in a simple way, it's like to stop feeling angry, resentful towards someone that offends you, to seize blame, to hold resentment against someone, or to grant a pardon, a mistake, a wrongdoing, to be free, to free someone, a pardon from a penalty, no obligation, a debt payment, etc. So on a definition of forgiveness, you're giving something, right? You're giving a decision. You're making a decision to give, right? To give what? To give what? And then I start like thinking about it, when the gospel says about forgiveness and the Lord's Prayer. Like when, I don't know if everybody here knows the Lord's Prayer, when the parts when it says to forgive please, God, forgive me as we've forgiven the ones who did us wrong. And then I was thinking, wait a minute. If I'm forgiving someone just because I want something in return, that's not truly forgiveness, isn't it? It's not that we are praying it wrong. Maybe we like understanding it wrong, because we pray this prayer our lives, right? I mean, I do. I don't know if you guys did, or what kind of background you came from, but at some point of your life, maybe someone is exposed to that prayer. But I was thinking, is that a bargain? Forgiveness is not a bargain, right? It's a decision. So when you think about the prayer, maybe say, okay, Lord, please forgive me, because I'm going to forgive somebody because I need that forgiveness so bad. I need that, that release. I need that debt to be paid so bad. So please forgive me. I'm going to forgive whoever did me wrong. It doesn't work like that, does it? And I want to ask you, just if anybody could share with me, what means to be forgive for any of you? Is that an easy thing? Anybody?
It's not easy.
No, right?
No.
And right? I mean, at some point, everybody here is the place that you either ask for forgiveness or you have to give forgiveness, right? At some point of our lives, right? It's either or. You're forgiving someone, or you're asking for somebody to forgive you because you did something that hurt somebody, right? So when I was reflecting about it, because life sometimes throws stuff at you that you're like, now what? Now what? What do I do? Like, as situation arises, and sometimes like bad thing happens to you and keep happening, and then you're at the point that you have to say, okay, you know what? I have to make a decision. Or I let everything go and go in peace, or I hold a grudge and keep stuck to my hurt and my pain. So what are my choices, right? And just to help illustrate, and again, this is an illustration because, again, like when I talk about those topics, I always like to bring examples of the gospel, because Jesus, in my opinion, he is the guy that we look for guidance, right? Because in this topic, one of the last things that he says as he's being crucified, what he says, Father, please forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Even him, and like he was suffering, he was beaten, he was betrayed, he was left alone. Everybody that he loved him like disappeared. Everybody was flee. And even though on that moment, what made him on a clear, conscious decision to say, Father, forgive them. They're children. They don't know what they're doing. So that's why I like sometimes to divert everything to examples. Like, again, this is just like for us to tell a story. That doesn't mean anything that this is set in stone and that's how it happens. Just like an example, so we can, like a story that I like to tell. So anyway, I chose this passage of Matthew chapter 18, verse 21-34, because it was an interaction. I don't know if everybody here knows the gospel, have access to the Bible. No? You never? No? You don't believe it? But have you heard this passage before? Yeah? So this is a famous passage when Peter was asked, they're talking to Jesus about situation about forgiveness, and he asks, Master, how many times do I have to forgive the sinners who sins against me? Up to 7 times? And then Jesus says, no, 70 times 7. So it's not only 7 times. They're having a discussion, and I'm not going to get into too much of the discussion because that's not the topic here. It's just like this is just an example. And then when he gave the answer to Peter, Peter was like, what? What do you mean 70 times 7? And Jesus, being a teacher that he was, being a person that understood that we are not all there, that the way that he talks, the way that he lectured to people, he was speaking into paraphrasing, right? So he goes on and tells the story, right? He tells the story about the servant. So this is actually a story. That's not something that happened. So Jesus starts telling the story to the apostle, to Peter. And then he says, Peter, therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle the accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owned him 10,000 bags of gold was brought up to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that his wife and children are to be sold so he paid the debt. And the servant fell on his knees before him and says, please, he begged, be patient with me. He begged, and I'll pay you back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled his debt, and let him go. So I'm going to stop right here for a second and just to pause and think. When he says he took pity on him, canceled his debt, and let him go. At this point, the king, right, the owner or everything, the guy has a debt. It owns him like 10 bags of gold. Because he begged, like, please don't sell my kids. I beg you, I'll pay everything. At that moment, the guy did a simple, clear, conscious decision to say, okay, you're forgiven. I'll let you go. He didn't ask him, oh, but if I let you go, if I forgive your debt, you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. He didn't humiliate him. He didn't set conditions or bargain to give forgiveness to the guy at that point. He says, go. Your debt is paid. You're forgiven. Simple as that, right? No hard feelings, no emotions, nothing. Gone. So, with that being said, I just want to pause for a minute to think, like, sometimes in our lives, we have to separate our emotions from the decisions. Because if you take action when you're angry, when you're hurt, when you're sad, or when you're anxious, those decisions are not going to come out pretty good, right? So we have to understand that to forgive someone, it's a process, right? And part of the process of forgiveness, we have to be in a place of understanding to make a conscious decision, like what it means to be conscious, to be present, to understand, to have control, right, of your own being, right? That's when you make a conscious decision. Okay, that guy made a conscious decision. I'm letting you go. I'm gonna forgive you that. That's it. You're gone. No bargains, right? Remember the Lord's Prayer? He wasn't bargaining with the guy. He didn't set up conditions. Just say, okay, go. You're forgiven. And then the story goes, and it says, but then the servant went out and find out that his fellow servants who owned him 100 silver coins. The guy owned 10 bags of gold, right? Now he found someone who owned him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. This was after he was let go by the king, right? So his fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, please be patient with me and I'll pay you back. But he refused. Instead, he went off, had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what happened, they're outraged, and then went and told the master everything that had happened. So I'm going to pause here for a second so we can reflect on what just happened on this part of the paraphrase that Jesus was telling. So the guy was just forgiven, right? Okay, I forgive you. My debt is paid. I don't own anything. Does he have peace? Does he have like a sense of, okay, somebody forgave me and I'm just going to go on and live my life and I'm just going to do whatever. His choice, right? But instead, he chose to not forgive someone, right? the first chance that he had, that he found someone who owns him the bet. He's like, oh, pay me. Here's my money. I don't care. I don't care if your wife is gonna be sold, if your kids is gonna be enslaved. I don't care. I want my money, right? So he was not fair to the guy, right? So what does that tell you? That does he have to forgive others to be forgiven? Remember the Lord's Prayer? Father, forgive me so I can forgive others. That didn't apply here, did it? Right? It went right above his head. Like, nope, I learned nothing from it, right? So the last verse on this paraphrase says, then the master called his servant. You wicked servant, he said, I cancel all the debt of yours because you begged me to it. Should you have mercy on your fellow servants just as I had on you? He angered his masters, and he handed over to the jailers to be tortured until he paid back what he owned. Right? So, and if we stop and talk and think about it, why would Jesus say something like that? Why he would use this paraphrase to say, okay, what kind of justice is that, right? If we stop and think about it, if God is just, right? So what just happened here? That kind of like blows your mind, right? Because we're talking about forgiveness, right? And that's not. I use this example so we can reflect on what Jesus was trying to teach us. It's not about forgive you so you can forgive others, so we can all. It's not a bargain, because if it was a bargain, that's why the guy say, okay, you didn't keep your end of the bargain, so you're just gonna have to repay me. That's what I was trying to get into it. That's exactly what I was telling about the Lord's Prayer. That's not what Jesus was saying. Okay, so if you do this, I'm gonna do that, right? Because that's how we act, right? When we forgive somebody, okay, your debt is paid. I don't expect you to be perfect. I don't expect you to be just. I don't expect you to understand what you did to me and what my hurt and my pain, because you might not be capable of understanding. I don't have to reconcile with you. I just have to let go, because forgiveness is more for you than it's for the others. That's why when you make about others, you don't understand the value of the lesson, right? Because when you said, okay, I cancel your debt, I am free. You don't owe me anything anymore, right? All the hurt, the pain, the misunderstanding, the heartache, I am choosing to let everything go, right? It's easy, trust me, it's easy to say than done, because if you ask a person who got a kid killed or by a drunk driver, or it was shot down, or whatever the reason was, their mother, the father, or the siblings, whoever it is in the family, is going to be like, how am I going to forgive you because you took something so precious from me? But it's a choice. See? Okay, I understand you hurt me. I understand you took something from me. I understand that you have no idea of the situation that I'm in right now because you did this. But with a clear conscience of mine, I'm going to choose to release. And when we choose that release, when we choose to open our hands or our minds or our hearts and say, you know what? I want to let everything go. Who's that for? Is that for the person that you forgave or is that for you? For you, right? And aren't we tired of just walking in our lives with a bag full of potatoes? You know, have you seen a bag of potatoes? Like if you let it sit for a little bit, not only is heavy, but it starts to smell. Have you smelled rotten potatoes before? Those are the worst, right? Right? So that's what we do sometimes. when we carry a weight in our back and choose not to let go, for a reason that isn't that resentment, hurt, or maybe because we say, no, what you did to me is so bad that I'm not able to. Who is carrying that bag of potato? You or the other person? Right? The other person might say, okay, I'm sorry. They can sympathize, they can apologize, but they did the hurt, they're not hurt. Only you understand your hurt, right? So it's the same thing that, if you have like a pole with wires, right? With barbed wires, right? And you got tangled to it, right? And somebody tries to pull you over, but you embrace, like, no, don't take me out of here. I wanna. You stuck there for the rest of your life, hurt, by something that you were grasping to because you refused to let go, right? So, moving on to another slide because I have another one. Everything that I said, I'm just gonna rephrase because I talk too much and sometimes it doesn't make sense, but I just wrote this here, so just to make an understanding what I'm trying to say is, true forgiveness is a conscious decision to let go of anger, resentment towards someone who has wronged you without necessarily condoning to the actions or forgetting the hurt. It's a process that involves acknowledging the pain, understanding the situation, and ultimately choosing to release the negative emotions associated with the forgiveness. Forgiveness is a personal journey that can lead to healing and peace, even if reconciliation isn't offered or is possible. So I put here key points, and I think I talk about it, but I'm just gonna get just a little bit into it, a little more. So it's not about forgetting, right? Like the guy on the other slide, he's like, he erased his debt. Okay, you don't owe me anything anymore, right? In that case, it's like, okay, your debt is gone, your debt is paid, forget it. You're free to go, walk away, right? But sometimes it doesn't have to, you don't have to erase the memory of the offense, right? You don't have to necessarily say, okay, somebody robbed me or something, they took something from me that was very value, a memory or a childhood memory, or did something to me. It's not about forgetting the pain. It's understanding that letting go of a negative emotion is going to help me heal from the pain, right? It's not so much of forgetting. It's about moving forward, right? And it doesn't mean that you agree with what the other person says. Okay, you a drunk driver and you kill my kid. You don't think what you did is wrong. What you did is, you could kill another person, because at the end of the day, as much as we want that person to understand, we cannot control others. We can only control our actions, our emotions, and our doings, right? Because if you forgive somebody and give them, okay, you're free, you let go, that person, like the other guy on the slide, might as well just go on the end of the street and do all over again to another person. Are you responsible for that? Unfortunately not. That's his doing, his understanding, and his life, and his choice. Sometimes we don't make conscious choices, but forgiveness is one choice that we can do with a conscious, clear mind. And it's a process, not an event, right? And forgiveness may require revisiting and working through the emotion multiple times. Why is he saying, why he says it's a process, not an event, right? Because sometimes people, in order to forgive, and again, and I'm just putting out there, I will forgive you, but you're going to prove me that you're going to do this. I'm going to forgive you, but you are going to work through this challenge with me. I'm going to forgive you, but I never want to see your face on the face of the earth again, right? This is that's not an event. It's a choice, and move forward. But that we make, because you know what? Because our ego is so hurt. Sometimes it's so deeply rooted in us. That's the first thing that we do. It's take it personally. Say it's about me, my pain, my hurt, my this, mine, me. So when we free all of that and say, you know what? What are my choices here? Do I want to carry that bag of potatoes that is not only heavy, but it smells so bad for the rest of my life? Who wants that, right? Because you know what? In time, that's negative emotions, right? In time, it takes a toll on you. It robs of your joy. It robs you of your peace. It robs you of relationships, because you become like a bitter person. Because you know, everything that it is about what happened to you, how people how this injustice happened to you, and you stop and think about, I'm like, God, why me? What do I do to deserve? And I'm not gonna go into meritocracy here because it's another topic. But it's like, but sometimes that's how we think, right? Let's be honest. God, why is this happening to me? Am I a bad person? Did I do so badly that I learned nothing that this has to happen to me? And then we put ourselves in a situation, we victimize ourselves. And that's the worst place that you can be, is the victim, right? Because once you're a victim, everything is about you and how they did you wrong, how unjust, how the good person I am, how can this person do this to me? And it's all about, and it goes around and around and around and around and around. But ultimately, I think forgiveness is also an act of love for yourself, right? Not for the other, because how are you going to express love to another person if you're incapable to love yourself, right? Isn't that just that Jesus says, like, love yourself as you love your neighbor? So how I don't have to be selfish, but I have to look at me, understand my weakness, work through my shadows, understand my emotions, understand that I'm not perfect either, because if something did wrong to me, at some point in my life, I did something to someone they're gonna be hurt by me. It could be small. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna hurt someone in my life. It doesn't pass by. I'm gonna be asking for forgiveness, right? So it's about that. It's just about, like, understanding, looking at your dark side. Because if somebody did you wrong, it was capable of doing something to you, because deep inside, it's like looking in the mirror, right? It's looking in the mirror, okay, I'm facing my sorrows, I'm facing my imperfections, I'm facing my guilt, I'm facing my circumstances. You know what? Not perfect. This person is not perfect either. So we have to, it's more about loving us first, so we can release and clear that space for the good, for the new, so we can release and let go and move forward. So that's for me, that's when I was studying, when I was reading and doing some researches, that's what I took from this message. So if it's a gift to yourself. I just said that. I'm just repeating myself a little bit. Forgiveness can bring you inner peace and allow you to move on from the pain. Forgiveness is about letting go of negativity. Forgiveness doesn't erase the memory. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. It's a process. It's for your own well-being, right? And just like key points too, maybe this slide's supposed to be before this last one, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit so we can stay on topic. When we acknowledge the hurt, right, and when we recognize the pain, we understand our feelings, right, our emotions, like how this situation make me feel, right? So we have to acknowledge through this process of forgiveness. The first thing that we have to understand is acknowledging, okay, what just happened? How did it happen? So it's to process, right? How I'm going to be able to forgive, right? Understand the situation, choose to forgive, and move forward. When we make practice empathy, right? And sometimes when you're on the other side, when you're being hurt by somebody you love, or a situation, or you lose someone that you love because of an accident, or because somebody took it from you, it's very, very, very hard for you to be empathetic, right? Has anybody ever been in a situation that you have to look at somebody who offended you and try to be on their shoes? Who does that? Honestly, who does that, right? Anybody? Anybody? Huh?
I'll say several times.
Huh?
Several times.
Right? So, because when somebody steps on your toe, it hurts you. So you're feeling the pain, right? So you're not going to think about, oh, what kind of shoes this person was wearing when they step on my shoes, on my toe. We're not thinking, they didn't see me. You don't necessarily do that, right? It's all about my pain, because it's very real, right? So for us to be able, why am I saying this? Because like I mentioned on the other slide, it's a process, right? So first you acknowledge the situation. You trying to see for this different perspective, right? And when you see it from a different perspective, through the hurt, through the pain, through all of the emotions, you see, okay, now what? And if you think about it for a minute, when the light bulbs go out, and you says, oh, what if what if I'm capable of, because again, this is not an easy situation, it's not like something that everybody's able to do, but what if a light bulb goes on and say, you know what, I need to forgive, because everything that's going on in my life that's dragging, that's kind of irritating me, I might be not patient in my job, I mean being like a bad mother to my kids, I'm not a good wife to my husband, and so on and so forth. Why? Because all of this is like a cloud, right? That's hanging over me, but it's only raining on me. Because outside the sun is shining, the birds are singing, but I'm the one who's walking around with the cloud over my head and looking at the days like not bright, right? So that's why I brought this topic off, because like sometimes in society, or like in general, right? Let's say, because our actions, like how we perceive ourselves, how we talk to others, how we present, is like it's all about our emotions, our senses, our spirituality, but it says more about us than anybody else, right? Because everything starts with us. And if we all believe that we are all gods, that we have something so powerful, so light, so strong inside of us, faith, call it whatever you want to call it, but if we all believe that we have that sparkle inside of us, what are we doing clouding ourselves and not making space for that light to just shine, right? Why are we wasting so much time? Why are we wasting so much room in our lives with those emotions, with those negative feelings, with all this negativity? If we could just practice love, kindness towards others, but again, begins with you, right? Because it's all about you first, because it starts with you, grows with you, and then irradiates, right? But how are you going to do that if your inside is just full of dark and clouds, right? So, forgiveness, I brought this topic over because, nowadays, it's so easy for us to walk through life full of resentment, full of hurt, full of negative emotions, and affect the society, how we is the ripple effect, right? Right? It goes on your husbands, your kids, so it's easier than said and done, right? But it brings you inner peace. So I can't even say the words, but like when you make that decision, you say, okay, you know what? I am going to open my mind, open my arms, open my hands, and let go. Let go. Let go of everything. It doesn't matter what they did to me. It doesn't matter if they're going to be good or bad. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not conditioning to anything. I just want that to let go, because you know what? I need to release the pain and the hurt so I can move forward. So that's why I brought this topic over tonight. And I just want to ask you, I'm going to close because it's already been almost like 40 minutes that I'm talking. Times go fast when you do what you like. So I'm just going to ask for everybody, if just take a minute, take a moment, and just, if it resonates with anybody, just like stop and think, okay, in my point of my life, it doesn't need to be big, because sometimes forgiveness, it could be something small, and it's not measuring, right? Because hurt, it doesn't matter, because I don't know what hurts for me, it might not hurt for you, and everybody's different. But like, stop and think, what can I do in my life? What am I carrying? Is that really necessary? Can I free myself some space of the hurt and the negativity of those feelings, and make a clear, conscious decision of forgive and let go? And breathe, and it will bring you peace.